close the chat.
Got a long day ahead of you, Luke.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, baby.
Don't envy you, man.
Right. I think we are live. Let's just update. A little ping. I've just did a share on Insta. I think. Did we get a notification? It's that minute wait of is it live? Is it live? Looks like we're live.
Nice.
Sweet. Okay. Hello and welcome to the Beat Brings Us Together Electronic Music Conference, exclusively virtual. I have with me today two of our three panelists. I think Meli's going to join in a moment. Good morning, Sam. Good morning, Trieste.
Hello.
We're going to be talking today about how to start your own successful record label. You're with us for 45 minutes and 45 minutes where I think you're going to learn a lot from this bunch, experienced bunch. They've done a lot in the industry and they're doing really well for themselves. So Sam, I don't know if you want to just give us just a little intro about who you are and what you're involved in.
Right, morning everyone. I'm Sam Dexter. I am known for running a little label called Hungarian Hot Wax, based out of Midlands in the UK. Also A&R at Glasgow Underground, which is again UK based. House music, dance music labels. 32 years old, so been DJing for a while, producing, the default entry route, I guess, the long way round. But yeah, that's me. That's what I do.
The long way around of learning and experience. That's what it's called.
Yeah. Make the mistakes, learn from them.
That's it, man. And Trieste, how about yourself?
So yeah, I DJ under Trieste, and I have done for probably the last 8 years, although I've gone under a couple of different names. I have in that time also started my own events brand called Voyage Events, which is based in Birmingham. And most recently have started my own record label as well, with two friends of mine, Josie, Jay Carter, who's actually speaking on another panel later today, and my graphic design buddy, Oliver Green as well. And much like Sam, I've gone the long way round, started DJing and then just worked through the motions, doing events and then onto the label, then production. And yeah, here we are now.
Oh, thank you. Hello, good morning, Meli.
Good morning, guys. Sorry, I had little technical difficulties, but I'm here.
No problem. We've literally just started. Meet Sam.
Nice to meet you guys.
And Trieste.
Nice to meet you.
Morning,
hey, you too.
Great.
Thank you for joining us. Super talented, super experienced Meli here. Do you want to give us just a little bit of intro and what you're involved in?
So I'm Meli Rodriguez. I'm from Costa Rica. 6 years ago, we started Tierra Records, and we started throwing parties as well. So it goes really hand in hand. And of course, I've been DJing as well and producing, and then doing the whole marketing side, gig swapping and working as DJ and promoter as well. It's really all helped a bunch with my growth.
Real hustle.
Yeah, nonstop.
Some of those videos of those parties look rather incredible. So
yeah,
cool.
No, it's a vibe. It's amazing. It's all about the people,
Brilliant. Okay. Sam, I don't know if you want to take this question. You've had some real major releases yourself. Glasgow have done really well. Hungarian Hot Wax, you've seen some really high chart positions there. Was starting that label, your own label, Hungarian Hot Wax, was that the natural next step for you from your DJ experience and working at Glasgow?
I started Hot Wax before.
Right, okay.
Started working with Glasgow Underground. Of course, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I was DJing and because I'm from quite a small town, there's not much going on here. So I didn't have the route of, playing, the local clubs and things, because that doesn't exist. We don't have local clubs and things like that here, but I knew I needed to be involved. So I had some records from Beijing, and I was like, I'll put these out. We'll start Hungarian Hot Wax. We'll put these out. And we started out as a vinyl only label. But I was just throwing away cash with the vinyl only thing. It's a very tricky game, and we had to adapt. So we went digital, and it's only within the last 12 months that we've really started to find our place. And I really think that's, instead of thinking globally, we started to think locally and then work from there. So, we're blessed with a great bunch of young, talented guys from Birmingham and the West Midlands. We've got Ryan Nichols, we've got Malin, Alex Cooksley, Tokyo. We're blessed with all sorts of, top lads in Birmingham, and we just focused on that. And at the start of lockdown, we decided to go weekly with the releases to give people an outlet, keep themselves focused. You've got, here's the label, basically you can release what you like on there to a certain point. If it's crap, I'm going to tell you, but you use this, focus your energy on that instead of just sitting at home, drinking the days away whilst we've got nothing to do. And it's only since we went weekly that we really found some kind of success and recognition for what we were doing.
Yeah. So a real process of just keep hammering at it until something works.
Basically, I've made all the mistakes along the way, but that's how I learned. I learned by doing things and be like, okay, that didn't work. Now what?
Yeah.
And just keep going.
Brilliant. Meli, how do you think working with Pachero, how did that affect you and your career and your progression?
Yeah, so actually at the beginning, I study graphic design, right? And I do all the design work and video promo for the label. And then we started throwing parties, and I would not play because I was so shy. I didn't want to and then I was like, I'm throwing these crazy parties, and I'm not playing, and then I just started playing, and then I was like, okay, I guess I didn't believe in myself yet. And and then when I started playing, I started getting great feedback, and I was like, oh crap, yeah, okay, let's just work on, Meli, the DJ. And then I started going hand in hand with the Instagrams and free guest list, follow me on Instagram. And then I'm answering the messages on myself. I started, making 200 people guest lists, and then ended up making 800, 900 people just on my guest list, through Instagram. So it's and then I get there, they all know me. So it's everyone wants a photo. Yes, but tag me on Instagram. Yes, but tag me on Instagram. So that's how growth is super important. And your smile hurts at the end. And you're locally, right? Locally. Okay.
So you learned so much of the back end of
I was I'm just going to take advantage of my, it's my party. Might as well just blow it up. You're raffling a t-shirt, follow me on Instagram as well. And it's also the vibe, and you become kind of like a character,
So it's kind of a very organic.
Yeah, super organic and easy, just taking advantage of what's there.
Yeah, I think that seems really important from all of the three of you, that it's kind of a real community, and organic growth seems 100%. Essential to start all this sort of labels. Trieste, I mean, you're someone who's right at the start of this. How's the process been for you of setting this up? Would you advise other people to do it?
I would, but I would also say that the reason most likely that I've been able to get a label off the ground so quickly is because I've also done 7-8 years of network building before I've done this. So I've done the DJing, I've done the events, I've started on the production, and then right at the end of it all, we've come up with a label. And then obviously I'm able to tap into all of these previous connections that I've made as I've grown and developed, where to send premieres, who to get in touch with, who to share it with, who I can drop tracks to, to play on their radio shows and stuff like that. So yeah, absolutely. I would say now is a great time to start a label because most people are locked down. A lot of people, I would think, are looking for new music at the moment. And also you would probably have more time than you typically would in your normal life to sit down and refine it and really get to grips with how it all works, you know, looking at others around you. So yeah, I would say it's a good time to start one, but it does require a lot of like network building, I think, if you want to get off to a really sort of hot start.
Yeah, that again, that seems very, very key. Looking at, you have like a very wide scope of artists on your label, Trieste. Very interesting. I know it's early days for the label, but is that your intention with it? It seems to be like there isn't sort of a sound to it. You have a kind of trippy sound to it all, but they're very different tunes and very different artists.
Yeah, I mean, in its simplest terms, the kind of the mentality of the label it comes from mine and Jay's mentality towards DJing. You know, we have always played all across the board with various like genres and styles of music. So I guess we really wanted the label to reflect that same approach, you know, and be quite open-minded, try and push boundaries where we can, you know, like try and get experimental stuff through, try and get ambient stuff through. Yeah, we really wanted it to be a platform to kind of like push our own boundaries really, as well as like those that would engage with it.
Yeah, very cool, man. It's an interesting approach. Sam, I guess you're a person to speak about this because you use a lot of tools available to you when selling tracks, in particular Beatport Hype. How important is it to kind of get on board with these new ways of selling that are open to you?
Because of the way Hot Wax is and started, you know, like I say, based in a small town and things like that, we try to build our little community, but we don't have a party or anything like that at the moment. We were supposed to start those this year to kind of, you know, give ourselves more of a presence out and about, but obviously we can't do that at the moment. I always knew what we were, and we are a record label that sells tracks to DJs. That's what we do. You know, Beatport, you know, very much like Glasgow Underground, actually. You know, we are a record label, you know, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel or anything like that. We are giving you tracks that we think you are going to be able to play in a nightclub and people are going to really enjoy it. So the number one place, you know, the majority of DJs buy their music, although, you know, there's Bandcamp and Traxsource, space like that. Beatport, you know, outsells them all in terms of DJ tracks. So we knew we needed to build up some kind of presence on Beatport. And luckily when they announced Hype for the little labels that earn less than 10,000 a year, I believe, is one of the, you know, one of the factors of Beatport Hype. We knew we'd easily fit into that category because I don't think we've ever made a penny. But we knew as long as we could do enough to stand out and, you know, try and stick to one genre at first and break through in there before kind of branching out into any other genres, and just keep a regular presence, you know, make sure your artwork stands out on the store, make sure, I'm not sure, I did a conference with Beatport recently, and I kind of compared Beatport to shopping in a supermarket. If you're walking down the shelves, you need to see something that stands out and draws your attention. And then obviously when you click on that preview, it's got to sound good. It's got to be mixed and mastered right, and it's got to stand up to anything else on you know, on that store. There's some big artists releasing some very big records on that store, and it's really competitive. So I think they have about 10,000 releases a week or something like that, something ridiculous. So, you know, trying to stand out in that, and you know, you don't have to do this as something drastically different from everyone else as such. You just have to be consistent with what you do.
Yeah, I think the artwork's really important as well. That's another point raised. I think all three of you have take on board that is a huge selling point, as well as great music and signing great talent.
You have to be recognizable for people to feel almost part of it. We want, you know, this is a label for everyone who wants to be on board. If you like our artwork and you want a poster or something of one of the releases, just, you know, let me know, get in touch. You know, we you know, we want this, you know, we want that artwork. We take the artwork very seriously. I've got a couple of posters in front of me here, and it's like, it stands out great. You know, you've got to build that brand recognition.
Yeah, well, that's an important point again. Meli, you've worked with Picero and you've got a lot of experience of your own music, your own releases, so you know the business very well. You concentrate on your event brand now. Do you kind of see that growing into its own label?
Yes, 100%. Like what happened with Puchero is like, I mean, I'm still like half owner or whatever, but we supported so much music, and then I started finding out urban music like reggaeton and hip hop and like all this stuff, and it was so great. And we had all these sub labels, but they don't have the following that Puchero had, and it's just started being just a label of like a universal, you know, like just everything. And then I definitely wanted to, like, I finally through these 6 years found my sound, which is tech house, and then I definitely want Baila Tu Cuerpo to be just a tech house label, and then Puchero Records can just be anything, you know, from trap to reggaeton to hard techno to, you know.
That's cool. Again, like kind of like Trieste, you've got a label that's hasn't got a sound, it's focusing on it a lot, and then one that's super channeled like Sam. So different approaches, but they work in their own ways. I'll put it out now, just in case anyone wants to ask any questions. If you put them in the chat, we'll get to them in a moment. We've got a lot to talk about anyway, so we might not get to them, but we'll see. I'm putting it out there now. This is going to be quite a broad question for everyone, but what's sort of like the best advice you could give to someone wanting to start their own record label? We sort of touched on it, but maybe a more concise point might be good. Anyone could take this one.
I think the most important thing is to actually care about what you're doing. So like, don't start something because you think this is what people want to hear and it seems like the done thing. Do it because, like, you know, your heart is aching to do it. Like, you know, it's something that you truly care about, and it's something that you're truly passionate about, and that you're not necessarily chasing numbers, although obviously numbers are important because at the end of the day you need it to be also a viable business. But I think for me anyway, my approach has always been just do things that you really, really care about, and that you would be willing to work beyond the usual hours to get it to work. If you don't have that kind of drive and motivation towards the idea, then perhaps you need to kind of rethink about it. But yeah, for me, definitely it really comes from like really, really caring about what you're doing.
Yeah. It seems essential in any creative line of work. I'd say in any line of work, but especially so for anyone working creatively. How about Meli? How about you?
Yeah, pretty much, of course, do what you love, and then I honestly feel like it's a 24-hour job. Like it's like a full-time. Like running a label is a full-time job. Like that.
It's a way of life.
If you decide that, then you want to dedicate most of your energy to that, and then So now that's why I made the decision to stop and maybe focus more on myself right now, because it's just too much work, and especially when you're the one doing everything, because money's short or whatever, and it's your head and your ideas or whatever. So yeah, 100% like dedicated, like you got it. It's a super dedicated job.
Yeah.
Anything else, I guess, but.
I can really appreciate that as well. I often take on way too much, and I think run a bit thin. I think it's maybe better to have sometimes all your energy placed in one area. I think that helps a lot. Obviously, we've touched on the pandemic quite a bit, maybe in terms of parties, but how do you think that they've affected label directly and maybe label sales or promotional for those tracks? Anyone take this?
We made the decision like just before lockdown came in the UK to go weekly. We've been planning to do that for a while. It just so happened to be that people had a lot more time on their hands, so it was, for us, it worked out really well. We saw a massive increase in traffic on streaming sites. Beatport even put on a big sale for a month or two. So obviously the income was slightly less, but the sales were much higher because more people were buying. So people started to listen to a lot more music. in the first place. I think it might be leveling back down to normal a bit now as such, but taking away the art of music and labels and things, you're basically an online business, and everyone was forced to stay home and everyone was online. So for us, it worked out quite well in a way. It got us more attention as a record label, but under the circumstances, you know, I'd much rather, you know, if I had to chip away for another year or two to get that attention, I'd rather that happen than obviously what is happening. But yeah, no, for me, I saw an increase in streaming and an increase in sales.
Okay, so not necessarily adversely affected at all.
No, you have to, you know what this game is like. This industry's facing some serious challenges at the moment, and none of us really know what the future looks like what the future looks like for dance music and events especially. And the events is usually what keeps the industry ticking over. A lot of labels make a loss because the big A-list DJs that run those labels are just touring, and the labels are run as a bit of a vanity project. So we're going to see a very different landscape, and you have to adapt, or unfortunately it's going to be very difficult.
I've noticed there's been just a lot more records. Maybe I've just had more time, but a lot more record releases. That's kind of been the consistent thing.
I think a lot of DJs quickly made the decision to stop putting music out at first. I think they were like, well, we usually sell this track by having a lot of videos of DJs playing it, but as soon as as soon as they can't rely on that tactic to sell those records, they've either just stopped releasing and waiting for clubs to reopen. Fair enough. But for me, I've never really, I will listen to dance music at 7 in the morning, 7 at night. For me, I don't have to be in a club to listen to it. I can listen to it in my car, or like walking any time. So I thought that was a very risky technique or tactic to take.
Yeah. Trieste or Meli, anything to add? Oh no, was kind of said it all.
Yeah, I would say just similar, touching on that, like obviously I actually started the label properly post lockdown. So although like we'd started to put some branding and stuff out there ahead of it, we didn't actually release any music until we were in lockdown. So for me personally, I don't really have anything to compare it to, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But I know personally that I was able to put more time into building the brand and like putting 120, 150% into the launch, which I might not have been able to do had life resumed as normal, obviously with all the other bits and pieces that I was doing with Voyage and the writing work and working with the Hare and Hounds. So yeah, again, it's not something that I wanted to happen. I don't think anybody wanted this to happen, but you kind of have to work with what you're given, and I think it did afford me more time to focus on the label. That's probably what I would say.
Yeah. Adapt seems to be a big one. Just adapt to things and take what you can out of things. You've all got experience in events. Meli, what did you look for, and what do you think you will be looking for in terms of signing new tracks? Is it different from booking artists to play? Is it because people are playing a lot of events? Is that why you're signing music? Because the music's good,
Yeah, well now, like, I mean, after 6 years of running Puchero, and like we started because we wanted to support it, support local artists, and it's actually the second record label in the country, and wow. There's like 3 Incredible. Or 4, and then we started just trying, like, having like small kids come produce and then make a track and then they have it on Spotify, and they have a bunch of friends, and then all their friends want to come see them play, so then it's all and then of course it's all like a big part is marketing. I really enjoyed that, and in the end, like what we wanted is for the people to enjoy and have a good time. So we do free guest lists most of the time before midnight. We don't make much money, but we like people are dancing, having fun, and we're getting that like free promo pretty much.
Yeah.
Or I guess not free because we worked for it, but we're getting what our results or whatever.
Yeah. So what do you look for in the tracks that you were signing? What sort of things are you looking out for? Is it going to be a great track to take on board?
Yeah, like
someone might be
probably. Well, so we get a lot of promos, and I really like to get new artists and then just link them up with like someone maybe like not huge, but a level that they'll be willing to collab. Because I mean,
cool.
you can hear a good song if like you'll know in like the first 20 seconds. So then that's all part of it. And then I already have the contacts of all these, whatever big guys or whatever. I'd love to have big support as well. Maybe maybe remix or something. And yeah, but I'm excited. I'm not gonna say when or because it's not my top priority, but definitely like I want to take it slow and do it properly. And like now we're working on merch first, which is really
cool.
important as well and fun. Like I love all this, branding and
I feel like we could just do
culture.
like a 2-hour session with you, Meli, about networking.
Yeah.
I guess this is a big, good question for you, Sam. You work as an A&R at Glasgow. I mean, what are you looking for in new music or new artists?
Meli's right. You can tell a good song within 3.5 seconds. You've got to know how to get the most out of that song. Luckily, both Hot Wax and Glasgow Underground are Beatport labels primarily. So they've got to be playable. I'm looking for a certain thing. I'm not looking for ballads or Christmas records or anything like that. We want tracks for DJs to play at peak time. When the dance floor is full and they're looking for the next record, we want them to pick our record to play. So that gives me, a clear direction of what we're looking for and a lot to work with. So and the rest just kind of, I don't care who you are. I don't even if you email me a demo and I've never spoken to you before, I'm not reading your name, I'm not reading your bio, I'm clicking on the link, I'm listening to the record. If I like it, I'm going to, of course, I try and respond to as many people as possible. But if I like it, then I'm going to have a look at who you are and what I'm not bothered by big names or anything like that. A good record is a good record, and it's important that we keep it like that instead of just going off egos and names and things.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear, and probably quite inspiring for a lot of producers out there who are maybe hesitant about sending out their music.
Yeah, definitely.
It doesn't matter.
Send it to me.
Send it all the time. Trieste, how about yourself? You distribute everywhere. You have an early release with Bandcamp though, right?
Yeah. So the kind of system that I've set up, if you will, is that we kind of build interest via Bandcamp first by making like 1 or 2 tracks from a release available for like a pre-order. Yeah. We then can get Ollie to do all these like trippy like teaser videos and stuff, which we use to like build up to the launch date. But then when the launch date hits, we're like any other digital label. We have full distro through Label Engine. So as well as Bandcamp, we end up on all the major platforms as well, like Beatport and Juno Download and TrackSource. So we've got quite extensive coverage in that regard. The reason though that I like to start things on Bandcamp is, for me, that's where I personally go to buy all of my music. I feel that it caters a lot better to, I guess, more like left field leanings of music, which is where I would probably say Urban Records falls. So yeah, it's that's kind of the process for building a release. And in terms of like finding the releases or the A&R, I suppose again that I've kind of built that around what I've learned as a DJ, because that was where I started in this whole industry, was as a DJ, and that's still something that I focus on heavily to this day. And because I've played all manners of sets, you know, from warm-up sets to peak times to all night long, I kind of know what I'm looking for. I'm basically looking for stuff that I'm like, oh, wow, okay, I can play this at this point in the night, or this feels like a start of the night track. And like what these two are saying as well, you can absolutely tell within like the first couple of seconds if it's going to be worth you talking to this person or not. I do think though that like some tracks, while they might not be perfect straight away, that if I feel it's got potential to be like a great track rather than just a good track, then I will get in touch with that person, and if they want it, I will give them some feedback on like how I feel about the track and maybe where I think it should go if it were to fit on my label. So yeah, that's kind of the process really. Because we're quite small, I imagine we probably do not get sent anywhere near the amount of demos that these two guys receive. So I can dedicate more time to giving people feedback and giving them more of a sort of one-to-one interaction. But even as we grow, you know, if we start getting more demos and stuff like that, I will try my best to engage with anyone that I think is, you know, that's got potential. But yeah, you kind of get a gauge of whether or not you're going to use or have any involvement with the track after a couple of seconds.
Yeah, I think it's probably good for a lot of people not to get disheartened by if you don't get responses. It's just people get flooded with tracks and just send them again maybe in a week or so. We got a question. I have to rack your brains for this. But what's the biggest problem legally you've come across running the label?
Nothing yet. Thankfully.
You're about to after this live stream? No.
Yeah, no. Again, because we're quite small and new, I can't say that we've come across any kind of like legal issues. I was quite fortunate again to be surrounded by lots of very knowledgeable, very experienced individuals who have kind of helped me to ensure that I am in line with like, you know, legal guidelines and stuff like that pre-launch. So as it stands, I think we're all covered and doing everything above board. But like I said, a few years down the line, who knows? We might hit some trouble. But as it stands, we've been fine.
We've had some advice, which is
yeah. You know, just like on how to like build contracts and stuff like that. You know, and about copyright and how you work remixes and just things like that.
Yeah, because like that could probably be quite daunting for someone who's doesn't know that side of the industry. How about you, Meli? Is anything you've come across?
I mean, I can't think of like for our label personally that we had any trouble. I mean, it's really important to, you know, get that contract in the folder with, you know, with all that stuff, even though you might think that it's just a friend or blah, 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 but you know, better safe than sorry, because personally, I, as a producer, got myself in trouble when, you know, I signed a contract where they could like re-release, and now I have a track from 6 years ago that's being released again now, and you know, all that. So yeah,
that can be a real pain. I think I've had similar situations in the early days. You just sign things and you think, oh, it's fine. Yeah, definitely read.
Yeah, don't even read it. Yeah, no, like,
yeah. You're like, our track's getting released. Yeah. Whatever. What have I just signed? You know. How about you, Sam? Do you come across quite a lot with Glasgow and getting vocals signed off?
It's definitely a side of the industry. If you're going to be working in this game, whether as a producer or running a label, you've got to get clued up pretty quickly. Fortunately, dance music is like the Wild West, and there are a lot of people that will quite easily take advantage of you. I mean, I think there's quite a lot of publicity at the moment around Tracks Underground, is it, or out of Chicago, where a lot of the guys have never been paid for some of the most, you know, some of the most iconic tracks in house music and things like this. And artists are very quick to sign paperwork without really reading that over. And there's a lot of labels, including some of the more well-known ones, that really do take advantage of artists and exploit them, and tie them into contracts that, had they really spent the time to look that over or get someone to look at it, they probably would have never have touched in a million years. But like, if you're sending your music to a label, if they like it, and and you're really excited by that, don't get carried away. Take your time, get someone to watch, look at those contracts.
Yeah.
Find someone, find someone who knows. There's plenty of people that will give you the time, and quickly look over a contract for you. Take your time, because if you get tied into a deal where you can only release with that label for the next 5 years, that's how do you get out of that without a lengthy court costs and things like that. With regards to the vocals on GU, I guess that's probably a fairly common question we get. I mean, obviously, a lot of people think they're bootlegs or samples. All replays, but just because you've replayed something and you've not used a sample from the original track, that doesn't mean it's good to go. You've then got to get in touch with the original songwriters of that track, and sort out the publishing side of things, before you can go ahead and put that out, because you're essentially recreating someone's work. And they need to be paid for that. So cross your T's, dot your I's, and watch your back, because people are just looking to take advantage, unfortunately, in this game. There are good people. Find those people and stick with them and work with them. Just because the label's cool doesn't mean you need to work with them. Find people you trust and stick with them.
Yeah, I guess if a track's great, someone's going to sign it. So
essentially, you don't need to give away everything.
Yeah.
Just
probably got time for this question before we finish off. Someone's asked, Jackie's asked if do you just sort of look for 2 or 3 track EPs, or you're looking for single tracks mostly, or has that changed as the past few years as time's gone on? Anyone, I guess this one could go to.
For us personally, we are open to all sorts. A bit further down the line, we've got an ambient noise album coming out, which is completely different to the first release we had, which was like a 4-track VA. Our second release is like a 3-track EP. So it really just depends on what you agree with the artist, but most importantly, what the artist intends for their art as well. I never try to stick my oar in too much. I'm happy to give feedback on the music itself, but in terms of how big or small the artist wants the project to be, we kind of have a discussion about that. But I try as best as we can to kind of fit in with the creative vision of the artist that we're kind of working with.
Yeah. Okay, that's really cool. Yeah. A bit of back and forth, just to find the right fit. I think maybe we have to leave it there. No, we've got 5 minutes. I think we're okay. We've got another 5. I mean, there's been a lot of controversy surrounding quite once respected artists, kind of a fall from grace, and being called out for really bad behaviour and unacceptable behaviour in the industry. I don't know if you've come across this yourselves with anyone, events booking wise, or people signed to your label, but how important do you think it is to address that issue if there's someone on a lineup or someone on your label who comes under fire for these sort of claims?
I'm not sure why people are surprised. I mean, if you're looking at A-list DJs for life advice or some kind of life coaching, and then you're surprised when you realize that they're an arsehole and they're doing some very questionable things. I mean, we've seen a lot of this during lockdown. A lot of A-list DJs who fly around the world, of big money bookings, have just turned out to be not very nice human beings at all. And for me, that just isn't dance music. The whole enjoyment I get from dance music is, you know, there's space for anyone. Like, you know, you might not fit in at school, or you might not, you know, you might just not be able to get on with the conventional 9 to 5 world. You know, dance music is inclusive of everyone. I was just slightly baffled when people were surprised when some of these guys were doing some questionable things with their social media on you know, and have, you know, it turns out, you know, just yeah, you know, DJs are there to play music. You know, that's it. That's it.
Yeah. I think that's a good point as well. Work with people who are great and who are genuine. And I think all three of you are very passionate about the business, about music, and you seem to work with great people. So yeah, maybe it just stems from the person you are and how you're going to deal with stuff.
I think if it were to happen though, like, you know, a label would have the responsibility, I think, to stand forward and say something about it, you know, and if it means dropping that person from your roster, then, you know, so be it. You know, these actions have consequences, and that's the end of it. And you have to do the right thing, and you have to stand up to it. You have to speak out about it. You know, at the end of the day, with issues that are so systemic like this, you know, it needs the progress needs to come from everywhere. So, you know, it's not just shutting down that one person. It's making sure that whoever they're affiliated in the club world, you know, like speaks out about it as well. You know, the labels they're on speaks out about it. And, you know, if we do that, it garners more attention, and hopefully the problem over time, you know, reduces or becomes nil. You know, that would be the dream. But yeah, absolutely. If you have a label or some brand or platform, you have a responsibility, I think, to speak out. Yeah,
brilliant. Yeah, it's highlighting issues and keep talking about it. Keep it in the debate, in the discourse. Thank you so much, all three of you, for taking the time to share with us, because you gave out a lot of good advice and information there for people, and shared your journey and your stories with everyone. So I think a lot of people are going to be able to go out and create a really successful record label now, thanks to you three. But yeah, thank you, Meli. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Trieste. Hope you're all staying very well, staying positive. And yeah, good luck to you all, and I'll see you soon. Thank you. And don't forget to donate, everyone. We're raising money for BLMUK, Women in Music, Mind, and Help Musicians, and the link is in the description. So someone donated just while we're online. So thank you very much.
Amazing.
Cheers, guys.
See you later. Bye now.
Thank you. Ciao.